Hey everybody! I hope that everybody's still doing relatively well out there, despite all of our challenges that we're facing these days. It's the middle of May, and that means, at least on this side of the world, it's been about 2 months since we've been facing these lockdowns. I know in other parts of the world it's been even longer. And, people are going through their variety of challenges, and it's not the same from day to day, and it's certainly not the same from person to person. So, I know there's a lot of restlessness and anxiety. I think that everybody is facing some variation of stress out there due to these circumstances. And, anxiety doesn't always present itself in the same way. It doesn't always present itself with the classical, like, feeling anxious symptoms. When we're not able to control our circumstances and we feel this stress and anxiety, which is an absolutely normal human response, then it sometimes presents itself with feelings of frustration or irritability, easily getting annoyed with other people, passing judgment, finding fault with other people, and feeling anger. This could present itself in your life as like bickering a lot with people around you, or just in general feeling tense and feeling kind of angry with the world. So this yoga class that I'm going to share with you today is a tonic for that exact kind of suffering. We're going to, first of all, focus on some gentle but powerful exercises and stretches with focus on the heart center. So when I mean the heart center, I don't necessarily just mean like the actual physical heart organ that pumps blood through our body and keeps us alive, but there's also an esoteric, energetic aspect to the heart center, which I think we can all relate to, and it's associated with our ability to not only give love but to receive love, connecting with others. And I think that being able to open up in the heart area is beneficial for our emotional and psychological health. Obviously, being able to give and receive love is important for our well-being. But it's also good physically for us to be open in this area and for this area to be healthy. Good for our heart health, obviously, and for our lung function, and also for our immunity, which is all really important right now. So we're going to be focusing on some exercises that will help kind of soften up and open up the heart center area, also to help us with our breathing, um, and let go of some physical and emotional tension, which we often carry around in this area. And then class is going to end with a special meditation called Metta Bhavana, which is it's a Buddhist meditation, but I think it's very universal. It's aims to cultivate compassion and loving kindness, which is very good for our well-being, and also I think something that we just all need right now. It's a good tonic for that stress and that anxiety and frustration, just um, to cultivate this loving kindness. You may have noticed at some point with yourself, or maybe with somebody else, at some point, how when we are feeling emotional distress or emotionally vulnerable, or if we've experienced some emotional wounds, there's this tendency to kind of like tighten up and close down in this area. And it's like a natural instinct to try to protect this area from further harm. And not only does that kind of shut down the heart center and close us off from, being able to connect with the rest of the world and to feel that kindness and love towards other people, but it also has an impact on our physical health. So, I mean, when we close down here and we get tight, see what it does to our posture, which can cause, back and neck pain and other problems. And it also tightens up the pectoral muscles in the chest, which, among other things, affects our breathing. And our breathing is really important. Our breath is the bridge between the body and the mind. Our breath is like the windmill that, churns the life force energy through the system that, keeps us alive and healthy. And, when we are kind of tightened up in this area, then we tend to develop this shallow chest breathing where we're not taking in really full breaths. We're just kind of taking these shallow breaths into the very top part of the lungs. And our body's not able to oxygenate as effectively and to cleanse itself of, negativity and, toxins and disease and things like that. And it also, causes carbon dioxide to build up in the system, and it triggers the sympathetic nervous system, which is like the body's reaction mode, the fight or flight mode, or the get ready for action mode. And this releases stress-related hormones into the system to get us ready to face a threat. But when the sympathetic nervous system is activated a lot, then it can lead to chronic anxiety and depression and different physical and psychological ailments. So being able to really soften up and open up in the heart center allows us to take in full breaths, to use the entire capacity of the lungs and to oxygenate the body more effectively. And not only is that really necessary and healthy for our entire system, but it also, when we're breathing really well, and this relaxes the system, this triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, which is like the body's relaxation mode, like where the systems can communicate to each other, like, that we're safe, that everything's good, all is well in the Shire. And that, is something that we want to try to put an effort towards, is getting that balance of the system, getting that parasympathetic nervous system activated. So if you would like to practice with me today, then you can try to find a comfortable and quiet place for the next hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half or so. Now, I know that it's not possible for everybody to find the most ideal circumstances, quiet, comfortable place. We just have to make do with our circumstances. This goes for any time, but especially during these times, I know it's even harder. We can't put life on pause while we practice yoga all the time. So we just have to adapt to our circumstances. And in general, that's kind of our goal with yoga anyway. This time that we spend on the mat is just practice for the real practice that is going to be off the mat and out in the world. We want to take this awareness and this mindfulness that we cultivate and take it out into our everyday situations, which our everyday situations are sometimes chaotic and noisy, and so this is our chance to adapt to those. So these first couple of exercises we're going to do can either be done while sitting or standing. I'm going to remain sitting just because it's easier. I don't have to move the camera around. But you have the choice. If you would like to stand up for these first couple of exercises, then go for it. If you're going to sit, you can either kneel as I just was, or you can come into a comfortable cross-legged position like Sukhasana. And you can use whatever props you need to, pillows under the knees, cushion or block underneath the hips to elevate them. Anything to get comfortable. And we're going to bring the palms together at the heart center to begin with. This is called Anjali Mudra. It's an energetic seal, and it represents unity. And this is actually the meaning behind yoga in general. Yoga is often translated as union. It's a bringing together. And when we do this Anjali Mudra, actually physically bringing together the right and the left hand, symbolically we're bringing together the right and left hemispheres of the brain, and through our practice, ultimately uniting the individual consciousness with the universal consciousness, or the self with the divine, however you wish to put it. So let's connect with the heart center, and you can have the eyes closed, or you can soften the gaze. awareness fully into this present moment. And we'll just focus on the natural breath without trying to control it or modify it. Just taking notice of each inhalation and each exhalation. Gradually, we'll begin to deepen the breaths, drawing the breath all the way to the base of the lungs and filling up the lungs from the bottom all the way up to the top. The exhalation is natural and passive, but when we reach the end of that natural exhalation, we can consciously draw the belly button inwards towards the spine, slightly contracting the abdominal muscles. Notice that there's still a little bit of breath left in the lungs that can be squeezed out. When it's time to inhale, we soften the belly, we allow it to expand, we allow the rib cage to expand, the chest and collarbones to rise, really filling up the lungs. Exhaling, pulling the belly button towards the spine. At the end of that exhalation, just squeeze out a little bit of that last bit of breath. And continuing this breath pattern at your own pace, Dirga Swasam, deep yogic breathing. With each breath in, you're softening up and limbering up those muscles between the ribs and tissues around the spine and in the belly and those pectoral muscles in the chest. With each exhalation, you're just letting go of a little bit of stress and tension that you might be holding on to, letting the shoulders soften away from the ears, letting the jaw become more relaxed, letting the face soften. Now, keeping this awareness focused on the breath, on the next inhalation, we'll part the hands and we'll sweep the arms out and up. At the crest of that inhalation, the palms come together overhead, and then the exhalation deliberately draws those hands back down to the heart center. They reach at the very end of the exhalation. We inhale again, the arms sweep out and up. Our eyes can follow the hands up. When it's time to exhale, the eyes follow the hands back down towards the chest. We can even bow the head slightly. At the end of that exhalation, take a pause, and then when it's time to inhale, sweep the arms out, up, grow taller, open up to the sky. Inhale, reach up, exhale. Let that exhalation guide the palms back down towards the chest. Now continue this at your own pace. The breath is completely guiding the movement. And what we're doing here is coordinating the body and the breath and the mind. So by allowing the breath to completely guide the movement, rather than giving into that impulse to try to control the movements and let the movements come first, we just let the breath guide the arms flowing up and down. And of course, we're completely present in this moment, which means that the mind is fully involved as well. We're functioning as one total system, body, breath, and mind. Each time we inhale and open up, we're just feeling some of that stress, tension come off the chest area. We feel some space in between the vertebra, space between the ribs. We breathe into that space. The exhalation We bow our heads and bring the palms together at the chest. And without rushing, the next time the palms come to the chest, let's just take a pause here. Connect with the breath. Just notice that very subtle movement in the chest and the belly as you breathe in and out. Notice the heartbeat. Next, we're going to bring the hands flat down on the chest like this. And then the next inhalation, we open up the arms, so we sweep them out and back. And we open up the chest to the sky. We tilt the chin up and open up the throat. We can even gaze up with the eyes. When we exhale, the spine rounds a little bit. We bring the palms back to the chest and the chin down towards the chest. The inhalation opens us up to the sky. The exhalation rolls the head down. We follow the hands with the eyes. Continue this at your own pace, and when you inhale, we're not trying to forcefully create a back bend, but just by inhaling and lifting and opening up the chest, we naturally create a nice back bend. And then as we exhale, a slight little forward fold. Inhale, open up and really feel those pectoral muscles in the chest and intercostal muscles between the ribs soften up. Exhale, fold forward. Let's do this one more time. Inhale, open up. Exhale, fold forward. Let the breath come back to normal, and let's just take a pause here and connect with the breath and connect with the heartbeat. And we can release the hands, and now we'll bring the hands behind our back. You might be able to grasp one wrist with the fingers of the opposite hand, or if your fingers are very limber, you might be able to easily interlace your fingers and clasp your hands together. And we're not doing any kind of forceful opening, but just by breathing in and just lifting the chest slightly, let's see if we can straighten the elbows a little bit. So we're doing a little chest expander here. Okay, so if you're standing up, you can even come up onto your tippy toes and really feel yourself open up to the sky. If you're sitting on the ground, you can even place those fists on the ground and kind of press into it and work towards drawing the shoulders away from the ears and just feeling an openness through the pectoral muscles in the chest. So we're going to hold this for about a minute. So just find a place where you can feel something powerful and beneficial happening, but not too harsh that you can't hold it for a minute. So find your nice hatha balance, and rather than focus on how far you're stretching or how far you're leaning, just focus on the inhalations and exhalations. Notice now how when you inhale, you feel a little bit of resistance. You feel maybe that tightness through the so-called breathing muscles, the chest and in the abdomen. And just through that conscious, deep breathing, we try to soften up those tissues a little bit and create a little bit more space in this area so that we can really use the full capacity of the lungs and inflate the lungs and oxygenate the body a little bit better. So let's take one final deep, influential breath. Let's gaze up at the sky. And then exhale, and we can release. The next exercise that we're going to do is we're going to lie down on our bellies. So we come into Advasana, so maybe you're still standing or maybe you're sitting, so I'll give you a moment just to lie down on your belly. So I'm not going to stay down in Advasana, but I'll just show you in case you're not sure. You're just going to lie down on your belly, turn your cheek to the side, have your arms resting alongside you. Okay, and then we're going to prepare for Bhujangasana, the Cobra pose. So to prepare for Cobra pose, you can have your legs and your feet either together or just a little bit of a distance apart. And then we slide our fingertips back so that our fingers are in line with the tops of the shoulders. Okay, so that causes our elbows to kind of point up. And then we can squeeze our shoulder blades so that the elbows kind of come towards each other at our back as if they're going to try to touch. They're not actually going to touch, but we squeeze them together. We press our shoulders away from our ears. The forehead starts on the floor. And on the inhalation, we feel a lengthening of the spine, space between the vertebrae. We use that inhalation to lift up and open up. So the shoulders continue pressing away from the ears. We're still squeezing that area in between the shoulder blades, and that's what's causing us to lift. At this point, we're not pressing into the hands. We're activating that area between the shoulder blades to lift. Let's just hold this for 1 or 2 more breaths. And then on the exhalation, let the exhalation roll down the spine, 1 vertebra at a time. Chest comes to the floor, chin, and then the forehead. Then we turn our cheek to the opposite side as before. And you're going to stay there with your cheek resting to the side, and I'm going to come up for a moment. And when we do these asanas, it's important to stay focused on the breath, not just for the sake of approaching your practice as a mindfulness meditation, but also because when you tune into the breath will be able to communicate with you and let you know where your edge is, and it will help you keep that hatha balance, that equal balance between effort and ease. So you watch the breath, and when the breath starts to become a little bit shaky or erratic, that is your cue to choose to play on the edge just for another breath or so, but always to leave enough energy to come out of the asana without collapsing, without getting the breath out of control. You want to be able to come out mindfully and easefully. We're here to recharge, not to gather more tension. We're here to let go of a little bit of tension. So let's do another round of Bhujangasana. I'll just show you from this angle this time. Okay, so we're on our bellies. You can come into the preparatory position by sliding the fingertips back so that they're in line with the tops of the shoulders. The legs are either together or just a comfortable distance apart. And the feet are resting, the tops of the feet are resting flat on the floor. The forehead comes to the mat, and on your next inhalation, before you even think about lifting up, think about lengthening the spine and creating space between the vertebrae, and then using that activation in the middle of the back and the inhalation to open up. Now, once you reach a certain point and without compromising that activation in the middle of the back, you can press the pubic bone towards the floor, and you can put a little bit of pressure into the hands. So that brings the attention a little bit further down the spine. Some people might be able to walk their hands forward and even straighten the elbows a little bit. So we're still activating that area between the shoulder blades. We're not just using the strength of the arms to push ourselves up. We're just putting a little bit of pressure there to help us open up a little bit more. Nice deep breaths. Just notice what's happening in that heart center as you breathe in and out. Stretching out the throat, gazing up with the eyes. And exhaling, rolling down 1 vertebra at a time. Chest, chin, forehead. Cheek to the side. And just take a moment there Tune into the breath, see what's happening with the breath. And when the breath is back under control, we're going to do one more round of the Cobra pose. So when you're ready, coming into position, elbows close to the body and pointed up, fingertips underneath the shoulders. Taking a deep inhalation. Before you lift up, feel that length through the spine. Inhale, lift the head, the neck, and the chest off the floor by squeezing the shoulder blades. Then putting a little bit of pressure into the hands if you wish, and bringing the attention a little bit further down the spine. Okay, so you can kind of see where you want to put the attention. You know, maybe it feels good just to come up just a little bit and focus that attention on the upper and the middle back. Maybe you want to put more attention further down the spine towards the lower back. In any case, be cautious about putting that pressure on the lower back, especially if you have any lower back issues. Of course, watch the breath. When the breath starts to become a little bit uneven, then you notice that as your moment to play on the edge a little bit. Maybe take another deep breath in and just expand the heart center outwards one last time. Use that next exhalation to roll down slowly, mindfully, with total control and ease. Forehead reaches the mat. We turn the cheek to the opposite side as it was last time. And you can rest the arms alongside the body and just take a moment there. We'll take in a deep inhalation, fill up the lungs from the bottom to the top, and hold the breath at the crest of that inhalation. And then exhale, sigh. Let's do that one more time. Take in a deep inhalation, fill up the lungs, hold the breath. Exhale, release, just feel your body deflate and melt into the floor. Just experience this moment of stillness and rest, knowing that there's nowhere else to be in this moment but right here doing what you're doing. Now we'll place the hands underneath the shoulders again, and this time we're going to press up into our tabletop position. So just coming onto all fours, and the knees directly beneath the hips and the wrists directly beneath the shoulders. The toes can be touching the floor, and fingers nice and spread apart, consciously putting an equal amount of pressure into all parts of both hands. And then we're going to press into the hands, straighten the knees, lift the hips up, come into downward facing dog. Okay, so in downward facing dog, we are pressing the ground away from us. At the same time, we're trying to touch the sky with our hips. I'm going to have you stay there for a minute or two, and you may not be able to easily hold it for a minute or two. It's actually quite a challenging stretch. So for the next minute or two, I trust you to come out when you need to. So play on your edge a little bit. When the breath gets erratic, come down into your tabletop, take a moment there, get the breath under control, and then come back into downward facing dog. When you are up in downward facing dog, we really want to focus on that extension through the spine. So rather than forcing the heels down to the ground and compromising that extension through the spine, let's first just come up onto the tippy toes so the heels are lifted, and focus on pressing into the hands, creating a straight line between the wrists and the tailbone, that extension from the crown of the head all the way to the tailbone, and some space between the vertebra, and really focus on that openness in the upper body. And then eventually, if you want to work on getting the heels to the ground, you can kind of pedal them one at a time. And over time, as those hamstrings, the backs of the legs limber up, you might be able to bring the heels to the ground and then find an equal amount of weight between the hands and the feet, or an equal amount of pressure being put through the hands and the feet. But most important is we keep those hips high. You can also try some different variations here, like do a little bit of yoga improv. if you like lifting one leg and coming into the three-legged dog, you can bring the knee forward and then back up, just get a little bit of movement. Of course, if you do the three-legged dog, be sure to do both sides. Okay, so finish off whatever yoga improv you're doing right now. Okay, mindfully, when you're ready, come back down into your tabletop, and then we'll sit back into child's pose. So to get into child's pose, widen the knees a little bit, have the big toes so that they're touching, sit back towards the heels, bring the forehead towards the floor. Your arms can be outstretched towards the top of your mat, or for a more introverted position, you can bring the arms alongside the body with the forehead resting on the mat. So we're going to stay here for about 2 minutes. This is a relaxation pose. This is a resting pose. So if it's not coming very easily to you, some different things you can try. If your forehead's not coming all the way to the floor, you can try stacking your fists, one on top of the other, resting your forehead on your fists. You can also use a block or a cushion to rest your forehead. If the hips and the heels don't meet very easily, you can place a cushion in between the hips and the heels. If you feel discomfort in the ankles, you can put a cushion or a folded blanket underneath those. So just experiment and try to find comfort and release here. We can focus on taking those deep, influential breaths, filling up the lungs, maybe even holding the breath just for a moment at the crest of the inhalation, and then with the exhalation, just visualizing that stress, that tension, that negativity, just letting go and releasing and becoming benign in the ether, just letting go of whatever we're ready to let go of and feeling ourselves become lighter and softer, melting into the earth. It may also feel good just to let the breath come back to normal without doing anything to try to control it, just letting your instincts take over for a few moments. Remember, this is a meditation, so just noticing when the mind wanders away, which it will. And when it does wander away, we just acknowledge that it happened. We draw our awareness back to the present moment, back to our breathing. And now we'll gradually come out of child's pose, walk our hands back and come back on our knees. We're going to do another chest opener called Ustrasana, the camel pose. So for this one, we are kneeling, but we're not sitting back on our heels. We're sitting up, so we're kind of making like this L shape with our body. And just a little warning, the camel pose can put quite a bit of pressure on the lower back, so if you do have lower back problems, just be very cautious with this. I'm going to instruct 2 different versions. So the first one is the easiest one, and then if you are quite limber and feeling good, then you can try the second version. If even the first version isn't really that comfortable for you, then in the meantime you can try some other back bending asanas. You can just do some cat-cows, you can try some more cobras, and then we'll move on to something else in a minute. So if you'd like to try the camel pose, We place the hands on the sacrum, on the lower back. The palms are facing down and the fingertips are pointing down. Okay, so just there for a little bit of support. And we don't have to force ourselves open into any of these back bends. We just have to use our inhalation to open us up and just visualize ourselves opening up to the sky. Okay, so we just let the belly soften, let the chest open, let the shoulders relax away from the ears, maybe even open up the throat a little bit, gaze up towards the sky. We have a little bit of activation through the pelvic floor to give us a little anchor to protect our lower back. Now, if this feels good, just stay here for a minute or so and get those nice deep breaths going. If at any point you feel like it's too much, just come down, come into child's pose for a few moments, and then you can try coming back in. If you want to try this second version, the full version of the camel pose, we open up and we reach back with our hands and we take a hold of the heels. That allows us to open up even more, really stretch through the throat, gaze up with the eyes, open up the abdomen and the chest. When it's time to come out of this, we bring the chin in towards the chest. We place one hand at a time on the sacrum, and then we round the spine, roll forward, and then it probably feels really good to come into child's pose for a few moments. Okay, so at your own pace, if you want to do another round of camel pose, either just placing your hands on the sacrum, inhaling, opening up, or coming into the full version, reaching back, taking hold of the heels, really stretching through that heart center. Taking a few moments there and focusing on that deep, influential breathing. Of course, being mindful to come out when the breath starts to become erratic, or when you feel like the body is tensing up, or if you feel like you're forcing it. A little counter stretch, come into child's pose for a few moments after, bring the breath back to normal. One more back bending asana we're going to do, one more heart opener, is Matsyasana, the fish pose. So for this one, we have to lie down on our back. So we start out like in Shavasana. So I'll just show you. You're gonna lie down on your back. And we can have our legs come close together. Our arms are alongside the body and our palms are gonna face upwards. And we're gonna tuck about half of our hand, so about the ring finger and the pinky finger, we're going to tuck up underneath our hips. So that brings our arms really close to our body with the palms facing up. And we're going to press the body's weight into our elbows and tuck our chin in towards our chest and lift ourselves up and look at our toes. We continue to press that weight into the elbows and create an arch in the spine, so really expand the belly and the heart towards the sky, and then relax the top of the head on the floor. So we continue to keep that pressure through the elbows in order to lift. Okay, so you can stay here. And when it's time to come out, we never just collapse out of this pose. So watch how I come out. So I press into the elbows, I draw the chin in towards the chest, and I look up at my toes, and then I roll down. Okay, so let's take a moment here. We'll do one more round of this. So we have those pinky and ring fingers tucked up underneath our hips with our palms facing up. We press the weight of the body into the elbows, lift up, look at our toes, continue to press into those elbows, and inhale and open up, relax the crown of the head on the floor, open up the throat, draw the shoulders away from the ears. Now you can stay here for a moment. I'm going to come out because it's not really healthy for me to try to talk with my throat stretched back like that. So we try to hold this for 30 seconds to a minute and really focus on those deep inhalations and limbering up that area through the chest and through the belly. Letting go of any stress and tension with the exhalation. And of course, when it's time to come out, we certainly don't wait until it's time to collapse, and we don't collapse out of the position. We come out with control and ease. We put that pressure in the elbows and we tuck the chin in towards the chest, protecting the neck. We look up at the toes, and then the exhalation rolls us down one vertebra at a time, coming down into Shavasana. Now a nice counter stretch here to our back bend, as it feels good just to bring our knees in towards our chest. Place our hands on the outsides of the knees, or maybe even hugging the knees really close to the body, drawing the forehead towards the knees towards the forehead, maybe resting the head on the floor and just rocking from side to side, from left to right, or maybe drawing some circles in the sky with the knees. And if you do that, be sure to reverse and do a few circles in the opposite direction as well. And we'll just finish off with a gentle supine twist. So keeping the knees in towards the chest, we'll stretch out the arms into a T position. And we'll exhale, allow the knees to drop towards the right, and we'll gaze towards the fingertips on our left hand. So the knees might not all come all the way down to the floor, and if they don't, then it might feel good to take the right hand and just place it on top of the left knee and just let the weight of the arm kind of draw it a little bit closer. And we want to feel like this left shoulder is softening and sinking towards the earth. Take some nice deep inhalations. Notice that abdominal massage that you're getting, and just that sense of cleansing the system just by directing the awareness and the breaths. Let's bring the knees back to center. Keep them close in towards the chest. The arms are still in a T position. Now let's release the knees towards the left, and we'll gaze over towards the fingertips of the right hand. The left hand may want to come onto that right knee and just offer a little bit of, passive assistance, to bring those knees a little bit closer to the floor. And here we just focus on the breathing. Nice, deep, influential breaths. Focusing on softening and releasing into this. No effort required. Shift the knees back to center, maybe give the knees one last hug, and then relax and come into Shavasana, our relaxation pose. So you can stay lying down on your back in Shavasana. We're going to prepare for our final meditation. So for Shavasana, you want to come into a comfortable position because we're going to be here for a while in our meditation. So if you need like a pillow underneath your knees, or if you prefer a pillow underneath your head, if you tend to chill easily, maybe getting a blanket and covering up, just getting into a nice comfortable position. We're going to do our meditation. I'm going to turn the camera around, even though your eyes are most likely going to be closed. I'm just going to give you a little sea view while you do that, a little bit of cloud view, and and okay. So as I said before, Metta Bhavana is a meditation where we aim to cultivate compassion and loving kindness. Bhavana means to cultivate, and metta, we don't really have a perfect word for in English. It's a type of love, and I say type of love because we have so many different ways of identifying with love. You know, we can love something very deeply and very profoundly, and then at the same time we can love something very superficially. You know, like we love tacos, or something like that. So metta is a word for a very deep and profound loving kindness, a universal loving kindness. And this is something that we need. There's a lot of cruelty in the world, there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of injustice. And if we spent more time cultivating this loving kindness, not just for ourselves, but for others, imagine, what the world could be. Imagine what we could make of it. So we're here to cultivate metta. We're going to cultivate a compassion and a loving kindness to benefit ourselves and to benefit everybody else. So there's 5 phases to Metta Bhavana. With each phase, we're going to focus our attention on a different person. And in the first phase, we're focusing on ourselves. There's no one else that we're more familiar with or that we know better than ourselves. We know the suffering that we've been through. We know the love that we have in our hearts. We know our imperfections. And yet, we also know that very deep desire that we have to be healthy and to be safe and to be happy and to be free of suffering. So let's start the same way we do in all of our other meditations, is just to bring the awareness to ourself as a whole. Just acknowledging ourselves internally, externally, where we are in the world, noticing our sensations and noticing any thoughts that are arising and passing away in the mind, noticing any feelings that are bubbling up and not trying to fight them off, but at the same time we're not indulging in them or reacting to them. And the body is very relaxed. We can deliberately soften the body and let it melt towards the earth. Let the pelvis release, let the belly soften, let the jaw release, and the face is peaceful. And let's bring the awareness to the heart center. And just notice what kind of sensations are there, maybe very subtle sensations. Maybe these sensations are physical, maybe we experience some kind of emotional sensation, or maybe we don't really experience much sensation at all. let's visualize this area, this heart center, just kind of opening up a little bit. And I know this can be difficult for some people. You know, like I said, we really, because of emotional distress and vulnerability, we have a tendency to close off this area. But hopefully, some of our exercises today have prepared us a little better to, just kind of let the light shine through. And that light is inherent. It's exists in the core of our being, no matter how we feel or whether we identify it with it or not. It's there. So let's just see if we can let some of that light shine through, that loving kindness, that compassion. Let's observe ourselves as a whole, but through a lens of loving kindness. Let's look at ourselves here in this moment and realize, that desire to be safe and healthy and happy and free of suffering. To let that sense of love kind of bubble up and pervade our entire being. We can even say these words out loud in our mind. May I be well. May I be happy. May I be free of suffering. We don't have to keep repeating it over and over. We can, just like throwing a stone into a pool of water and just watch the ripples move out. Bring the awareness back to present. And now we'll move on to the second phase of our meditation, where we're going to bring to mind somebody who we know, somebody who we feel a very profound love for. So not necessarily somebody that we're just attracted to or have a superficial love for, but somebody we really deeply care for. And most likely there's more than one person in your life who you feel this way about, so you don't need to use any discrimination. Who do I choose? Just the first person who comes to your mind. Hold that person in your mind. Conjure up their image. Invite their spirit into this present moment. And observe not just the features of their face, but observe the features of their heart. Just like you, they have experienced suffering. Just like you, there is a desire to be free of that suffering, to be happy, to be healthy. Because you love them, there is most likely also a desire within you to see them well and to see them happy and to see them healthy. So notice how that heart center, just at the thought of this person, the heart center is expanded a little bit more, is opened up. Maybe there's a a little bit more sensation there, a sense of warmth, maybe even visualizing like a light coming from the heart center. And imagining this warmth and this light extending to this person who you have visualized, no matter where they are in the world. These positive vibes, these well wishes, this love is reaching them and penetrating them. And even if they're not benefiting from it right in this moment, no doubt they will benefit from it. You can even say those words out loud in your mind. May they be well. May they be healthy. May they be safe. May they be happy. May they be free of suffering. It doesn't even need to be forced, it just flows out of you so naturally. As it flows out of you, you just become softer and more relaxed. There's maybe even just the slightest little smile on your face. Now we'll leave this person here for now, that loving kindness continuing to benefit them as we shift our awareness to phase 3. And in this phase, we think about a person, a neutral person. So somebody that we don't necessarily have any strong feelings for either way. Don't necessarily feel love towards them, but we don't necessarily have any negative feelings for them either. Maybe it's somebody that we don't even really know that well. Just a random neutral person. And we have a lot of random neutral people in our world. So don't overthink it of who to pick. Just somebody who comes to mind. If you can visualize the face of the cashier at the supermarket, or somebody that you see on the street that you don't really know, but you can visualize their face, maybe you even know their name. You can conjure up that image of them in your mind's eye, bring them into the present moment with you, and just hold them there. And as you visualize them, you can also realize that just like you, they no doubt have experienced their own suffering, their own joys. And just like you, they have that desire to be happy and that desire to be free of suffering. So let's take the next few moments just to expand that heart center and send out that loving kindness towards this person. No doubt it will benefit them. If the mind has wandered, bring it back. You see that neutral random person in your mind's eye, and now we'll leave them for now. let that loving kindness continue to pervade their entire being. And we'll move on to phase 4 of Metta Bhavana, and this is often the hardest part for most people, because this is the phase where we bring to mind somebody that we don't like very much. I don't recommend, at least this time around, this being a person that has caused you a lot of trauma or a lot of pain, somebody that you experience a lot of negative emotions when you think about them. Certainly not your worst enemy. That's something that we can get to later on in another meditation, but for now just choose somebody who maybe just irritates you, annoys you, conjures up some, negative feelings. Maybe you're already a very kind-hearted person. Maybe it's hard for you to think of somebody. And if that's the case, just choose somebody who kind of stresses you out, or maybe you've had a conflict with recently. It doesn't even have to be anybody that you know. It could be a public figure, it could be a politician, somebody that you just don't agree with, or that just rubs you the wrong way. Let's bring that person's image into our present moment, into our mind's eye. And this can take some time. We have to give ourselves a little bit more time with this one, because it can be more difficult to bring this person, into our minds, and especially into our hearts. Naturally, more than any of the other phases, this phase is where the mind tends to wander. Maybe when we think of this person, brings up some thoughts or feelings or memories that have a tendency to carry us away, or maybe there's a tendency to naturally want to try to escape some of those not so nice feelings that bubble up when we think of this person. But this is a meditation, so we keep the breath steady and relaxed. We keep the awareness on the breath. We allow thoughts to arise and pass away, and feelings to come and go without engaging in them or judging them or reacting to them. So let's bring this person's image into this moment. And as we observe them, we can recognize that just like us and just like the people that we love, no doubt this person has also experienced their own suffering. And just like us, they have a desire to be happy and to be free of suffering. And beyond that harshness or, those aspects that maybe make them a hard personality to cope with, at the very core of their being, they're just like us and everybody else. So let's open up that heart center and let some of that loving kindness be projected towards this person. As we visualize this loving kindness coming into this person, we can even observe them as they soften up and maybe react positively to these vibes that you're sending to them. You can even say those words out loud in the mind's eye. May they be well. May they be happy. May they be aware. May they be free of suffering. Let's bring the awareness back to the breath. Let's take in a deep breath. Fill up the lungs. Exhale, relax. And let's just leave that person there. And finally, in phase 5, we expand our awareness outwards to everyone and everything. This can be quite a difficult and abstract visualization of the whole world. 7 billion people, not to mention all the other living creatures on Earth and possibly even beyond Earth. A loving kindness and compassion for all that exists. To help visualize this, you can try zooming your awareness out as if you're in outer space and you're viewing the Earth from space, just like astronauts have done, and how they describe seeing this beautiful blue-green swirl, this speck in an infinite universe. The realization that everyone and everything that you've ever known is there in that one little speck. And astronauts describe how they experience like a melting of the heart when they see this, like an overwhelming love for what they are witnessing, an overwhelming love and desire to care for everyone and everything, and the planet as a whole. Of course, that doesn't mean that we have to like everything and everyone and, you know, all the aspects to our lives and our existence. But when we zoom out and we observe with this conscious, this full awareness, we see the interconnectedness, the interdependence of everything, of all of us. And in this moment, we can expand that heart center, open it up, and just allow it to spill out into the universe. And spread to everyone, every person, every creature on the land, every creature in the sea, every creature in the sky. Every drop of water, every air molecule, every blade of grass, every speck of soil, everything just filled with your loving kindness. And you're not separate from it, you're a part of it. So when we say these words out loud, we know it refers to you as well, and everybody. So let's say those words. May we be well, may we be happy, may we be healthy, may we be free of suffering. And during this entire meditation, you've expanded your heart and you've given this energy. But no doubt there are others in this world that either right at this moment or at some point have done the same thing that you are doing, whether it be through meditation, whether it be through prayer, where they've sent out their vibes just to benefit everyone and everything. And that includes you. And so in this moment, you can also allow that loving kindness from others to come into your heart center and to fill your entire being. Allowing you to soften, to relax, feeling lighter. Your face is very peaceful. There's even that little smile on your face. Because despite all the cruelty and injustice and suffering that goes on this world, we know now in this moment that there's a lot of good. Because through this practice, just through this short practice, we have attained just a little glimpse of our true selves and what we're truly capable of. We'll set our intention now to take this awareness that we've cultivated, to take this relaxation, to take this receptivity, to take this compassion and loving kindness with us off of the mat. When it comes time for us to move on with the rest of our day or the rest of our night and move on to other activities, we will consciously take this with us, allowing it to benefit not just ourselves, but everyone and everything that comes into our path. And we continue that meditation throughout our day and all of our activities by simply keeping our awareness focused in one place, such as the breath. And naturally, when we find ourselves not with the breath, not in the present moment, no big deal. We've noticed, now we just bring ourselves back. Being anchored in that present moment, we're able to capture another glimpse, the core of our being, this peace, this loving kindness that is an inherent part of us. Let's gradually transition. Let's first return some movement back to the body by wiggling the toes and the fingers, rolling the head from side to side. Any movements that feel natural and beneficial in this moment. It might feel good to turn over onto one side, onto your right side. Stay there for a few moments or even a few minutes. And in this moment, give yourself thanks. Thank yourself for giving yourself this time today. Even though we didn't do a whole lot of complicated stuff, what we did does require quite a bit of effort. It can be quite challenging physically, emotionally, energetically. And what you did today will bring you so much benefit. Just give yourself a moment of thanks for giving yourself the time to do it, putting in the effort. And you can stay here for as long as you need to, but when it's time to come up, make it the most mindful, deliberate, conscious movement. And we'll come up into a seated position. I'm just going to turn my camera around. Okay. So thanks for practicing with me today. I hope that this allowed you to let go of some physical and emotional tension. I hope you're feeling a little bit better than you did when you started. I always, after doing Metta Bhavana and heart opening yoga, I always have this image of like people feeling like the Grinch, you know, the old original cartoon, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and there's that scene towards the end where he suddenly has this realization and his heart expands in size and he gets this dopey look on his face and he's suddenly has to go and undo all of these horrible things that he did. And so that's what I'm imagining or hoping you look like right now, with this big expanded heart and like this dopey look on your face, and just, you know, move through the rest of your day just kind of like feeling like that. So again, thanks for joining me. I'll try to do another one of these soon. As long as there's interest, I'll try to keep these up. And of course, I want to thank those of you who have made a contribution. There is no charge for these videos, but if you do benefit from them and you have the means to contribute, then there is a link in the video description to my PayPal account, my Venmo account, and I'm always grateful for offerings, especially during these challenging times. And we will end class with Namaste. Bring our palms together at the heart center. So this entire class is pretty much embodied the idea of Namaste, which is a greeting, a salutation that we send out to each other and to the universe, a way of recognizing our oneness and sending out our love. Basically saying like, my light sees your light, I see you. So namaste, everybody. Stay healthy and stay safe and be happy. And I hope things get better for everybody real soon. So until next time, right, cheers.